We have to re-look at everything because of the role of drone warfare.
He floats the idea there of building data centers underground. Imagine the disruptive effects something that large being built underground.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's JT Siskowski with Status Coup. One of the biggest corporate vampires in the entire world is saying that people who oppose AI data centers could be labeled as domestic terrorists and signaling that perhaps AI data centers should actually become AI data bunkers and built underground to avoid public scrutiny and the potential for sabotage by people who do not want these structures built. Don't just take my word for it. Hear from BlackRock's Larry Fink in his own words.
But now, because of drone warfare, we have to relook at all forms of security. And the need for rebuilding the GCC region, to rebuild it so that it could be in a position where it's not going to be obstructed by drone warfare. So many more things are going to have to be underground. But even here in the United States, if we're going to be building, let's say, these 1 gigawatt data centers, how do we make sure we're not protecting those $50 billion, $75 billion investments? We have to relook at everything because of the role of drone warfare. Right now, we're looking at it internationally, but one of my concerns is, could it be a domestic terrorism using a $3,000 drone?
So there he's talking about in the context of the war in Iran, that drones being sent out by the Iranian state as part of its counterattacks to the U.S. and Israel's offensive war have proven successful in targeting infrastructure in other Gulf Coast countries. He's taking those lessons and thinking about it in the context of all of the money that his firm, BlackRock, is pouring into AI data centers right now, and is thinking, these billion-dollar data centers that we're building sure could be disrupted by what he calls terrorists. But of course, the old saying, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, that people who oppose data centers could be using drones in the same way to sabotage domestic data center infrastructure. He floats the idea there of having Gulf countries rebuild a lot of their oil infrastructure underground, and is then drawing the parallels to security concerns here in the United States, floating the idea of building data centers underground. We have already seen the intense demand and effects that building these data centers have on water tables across the world at this point, where people are reporting their wells running dry or having problems with their water as a result just of these above ground data centers being built, not to mention the runoff that happens into surface water from the construction of these data centers, et cetera, et cetera. Imagine how much more invasive that could become if these data centers, some of which are on the scale of, or being compared to the size of Manhattan for their scale, these hyperscale data out right now. Imagine the disruptive effects something that large being built underground is going to have on perhaps your local water table, because don't forget, just because it's not being built in your backyard right now doesn't mean that it isn't going to be built soon. Larry Fink in that clip was speaking to the Global Conference, which is a conference that is hosted by the Milken Institute, which is one of these quote unquote nonpartisan but avowedly pro-corporate think tanks here in the US. And he was joined on that panel by Bruce Flatt, who is the CEO of Brookfield, which is another one of these massive private equity firms that is also dumping billions of dollars into data center buildouts right now. And Bruce Flatt just openly admitted that these data centers are going to be coming to your backyard as well, because he and the other billionaires like Larry Fink, like Bruce Flatt, are trying to rewire the global economy. And I want you to pay attention to what he doesn't say in this answer. What he doesn't address in talking about rewiring the global economy is any mention of how workers are going to fare.
We have been, and we still are, and for the next 10 years we will be, rewiring the global economy to lay the networks that we laid before, which were highways, utilities, railways, and now we're laying cloud artificial intelligence factories, and data centers. And the fundamental basis, that's what's happening. So there will be $10 trillion from power, AI, factories, data centers, and fiber build-out laid to basically rewire the world for the new economy that's coming.
He's talking about trillions of dollars of build out, trillions of dollars that are invested in this bubble right now, the AI bubble, to do these massive data center build outs that are leading to all kinds of pollution and poisoning of communities across the US right now. And all of the local opposition be damned, apparently. And that figure that he's citing there, trillions of dollars, is not an exaggeration, or at least not baseless. This is analysis from McKinsey, and that is one of those soulless corporate advisory companies that always usually just advises companies to do more layoffs. But they just recently, this spring, did an analysis, and they found that $7 trillion is being put towards a data center build out right now. And they say the race to scale AI has triggered one of the largest infrastructure build outs in modern history. By our estimates, global spending on data centers could reach $7 trillion by 2030. Whether a build out is successful depends on many nuances, including the availability of capital and energy resources. Well, the capital appears to be there because those two CEOs that we just heard from of massive private equity firms are busy dumping billions upon billions of dollars into these build outs. So the capital's there. The energy also seemingly will be there because there is talk of not shuttering fossil fuel plants to continue to allow them to burn fossil fuels and accelerate global warming, all in the name of sponsoring this $7 trillion AI build out for a product that's not even clear exactly what it will be used for, how useful it will be, or if people even want it. And I can tell you from firsthand experience and reporting that people in these communities sure as hell don't want these data centers built near them. I was recently in Janesville, Wisconsin, where there was probably one of the most on the nose metaphors for how our economy is being changed right now in this late stage capitalist neoliberal era, where we are watching on the site of a former GM plant in that community where it used to employ thousands of people with good union jobs. That factory closed during the economic crisis of 2009. And now is being replaced or proposed to be replaced with an AI data center. I spoke to some of the activists there on the ground who are opposing that data center about some of the concerns that they have around what AI will exactly do in their lives.
We don't know how these systems work to some extent, and they're not working in a way that is democratized or in the power of the people. It's the choices that are being made sort of way above our pay grade, and we're just down here downstream of the effects.
If you believe in being able to hear from real voices like that more outlets should be doing, that real on the ground journalism, hearing from people directly impacted by these data centers, go to statuscoup.com/join. For as low as $5 a month, you go to keep me on the ground in places like that, hearing from those activists. And I'm in the midst of doing a whole bunch of data center reporting right now. Whew. What a bunch of horseshit that our economy is being rewired by a few billionaires to be able to affect the future of that economy, build it in their favor, continue to rig it in their favor. If you appreciate having a media outlet that can call it like it is and draw attention to these real problems facing the world right now that isn't beholden to corporate interests, please become a subscriber here at Status Coup.